Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Cofield and Company, downtown Summerlin is the location. Frankie's Uptown. You've been out in DTS, you know Frankie's, very cool spot. No machines. So it is truly a friendly neighborhood bar because we can't all bury our heads like some people at the set today. John Von Tobel's here. Just playing the machines. You got to talk to people. And we got a lot to talk about, a lot to get into today on a busy Monday. So we are a stone's throw away from LVB, the Las Vegas ballpark. A's are going to be taking on the Brew Crew and then the Rockies over the weekend. 6 games here in Las Vegas. Very cool setup. They've got a meet and greet. We'll find out who the players are. I was efforting that as I was missing the beginning of the show, but I think Tony Kemp is going to be here. A's Legends will be on hand. We'll see who else is going to be here at Frankie's Uptown. Your chance to sign up for tickets for the rest of the series and lots of swag and goodies. And my God, John Von Tobel is so fired up. I think, so just so you know, last week we had Ray Brewer in studio, and Ray has been a fan of the lowly Pirates forever and their cheap-ass owner. And I don't know where he got it from, but he was gifted an A's jersey. The only man on the show, well, I guess we have others, but currently on the show who was a double X. And, boy, Ray got all misty-eyed with his new A's double X jersey, and I think he might be switching. And you are doing the unheard of. I can't believe you're wearing an A's jersey when you're an Angels fan.
Where's the picture? Send it to Artie Moreno right now. I'm out. They stink. They've done nothing for me. Here, I'm at least embraced by Stomper the mascot when he comes in and wants to take a picture with me. All right, it's in my town. I'm fired up. I'm a creature of the energy. I'm a chameleon. I'm an energy chameleon, Steve. I match what's around me. And right now, the energy around here, it's palpable. You cut through with a knife. Stomper's shaking his hips. The A's are here. Major League Baseball's in town. I'm fired up, man.
I haven't heard the term energy chameleon. I've heard energy vampire, which, you know, we work with some energy vampires. We know certain receivers in the NFL, like Devontae Adams, energy vampires. Any room they walk into, all the energy gets sucked out of the room. But you're a chameleon. If there's good energy,
that's right.
Then you have good energy.
That's right. I mean, you know me. I love these remotes. I get lost in it. Everything. I mean, I'd interview Stomper if he was actually someone who spoke
Look at
a
that.
little bit more.
There he is.
Yeah.
Stomper.
The elephant in the room. We have to address it.
Wow, that was nice. By the end, holy, look at the size of that hat.
That might fit me.
That might fit you, your giant head.
I'm a size 8 fitted, Stomper.
Mitchell, Johnny on the spot with his camera to take pictures.
That's heavy.
Too late. You missed it.
That's heavy.
You missed it. You got to be ready, man. Got to be ready. Yeah, so we're hanging out here before the A series. Frankie's Uptown. If you haven't been here before, really cool spot. Oh, look at this guy with the Bolte jersey on. A's fans are here. They're here for the meet and greet in just a little bit. And we are going to send you to Game 3 of the NBA Finals at 5:30, but a lot of baseball to get into, a lot of NBA. Of course, tomorrow is another game in the Stanley Cup Final. This weekend was unbelievable, both in the NBA and with the Stanley Cup. But I got to tell you, and we're just going to do a quick tease here because I got a lot to get into on 3 different fronts here. I think today is one of the greatest days, a watershed moment in the history of college football with the NCAA. I love what happened with Brendan Sorsby, the gambler turned anxiety issues. He's got mental health issues. What do you do in the workplace when someone has a legit complaint about struggles? You can't just kick them to the curb. And if you do, then guess what we got to do? We got to go to court. And guess what Brendan Sorsby did? His people, Brendan, they go to court. They got an injunction. I'm going to say for now, because I don't know how this is final, but for now, the college football world is completely pissed off. Not me, but many people around college football, especially the media people. I'm going to have to explain it to you people. I'm going to have to explain it again. Why you're wrong that this is a freedom fight for Brendan Sorsby. But I know you were a little bit irked when you saw the news that right now Brendan Sorsby, who was banned by the NCAA, was thought to be going into the NFL in a supplemental draft. We were all ready to break that down. Who's going to take him? The Browns, the Jets, the Dolphins, maybe some others.
Sure.
He can play. Let's go.
He was allegedly a talent on par with Arch Manning, according to some. He was going to be taken in the first or second round. I would disagree with that. Look, I cannot argue to the validity of Brendan Sorsby's claims that he is a gambling addict and that he has this anxiety and all these sort of things, okay? I cannot. Do I question it? Absolutely. I will say that outright. Do I find it ridiculous that by an extension of using that issue, you can clearly violate a very clear rule, which is don't bet on your team and still be able to play? I don't care about the alleged $90,000 that he bet on all the other sports. Who cares? But I think it's a pretty crystal clear rule. You don't bet on your own team while you're a member of the team. And the fact that you can do that and continue to play, I think, to me, is the sticking point that I don't agree with.
Okay, a couple things we'll build on throughout the show. One, did all the players sign a contract that was negotiated with NCAA to not gamble on football, not gamble on their own school, right? Did they sign a contract? And secondly, is banning him legal? So we're just going to leave it at that, because that is the biggest problem with the NCAA. What they do to their laborers and what they do to the talent when it goes to court is always deemed not legal. Okay, more of that in the 4 o'clock hour. Here's what we got coming up today on LV Sports Network, because this place is going to start getting good buzz in here. The Energy Chameleon is ready to go. Frankie's uptown. Come on down. We're going to register people for tickets for some of the games coming up later in the week. Tonight here on ESPN Las Vegas, 5:30 tip with the Spurs and the Knicks. The baseball game, because we are the home of the A's on radio, will be on 12:30 the game. Coverage on that will start at 6:30. And again, it's at LV Ballpark. It's in our neighborhood. It's in our city. So try to get out here. And even if you're not at the game, there's going to be a freaking vibe here and energy that's going to be really cool with Major League Baseball on the ground. And best of all, as John said, Stomper, the A's mascot.
He's stomping.
Is here.
That's what that sound is.
So as I intro what we got going on, do you kind of feel the vibe? Like, you're mostly born and bred here. I'm coming up on 30 years in Vegas. This is pretty outrageous, what we got going on this week, again.
You mean a Stanley Cup final? A team that is 2 wins away from winning another Stanley Cup and a regular season baseball series, multiple series here in our city? Something that we should get used to because it's coming here in 2 years? This is an incredible time. I'm absolutely amazed that we're here at this point. And, look, I know Adam Silver threw a little bit of cold water on this the other day, but obviously 2 years, too, there's a chance that we could be talking about NBA games. Who knows? NBA Finals games here. I'm never going to say never, considering the success the Knights had in their first season. If you're a sports fan, you consider what is going on at this time of year right now that ties to us locally. This is incredible. I was thinking about this on the way over here. It's just like, wow, like, we can watch the A's and the Brewers later here in a ballpark. It's a meaningful game. It's, nothing to the summertime stuff that comes down here, but the big league weekend, this is awesome if you're a sports fan. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep saying it as a story of my existence here. Is I got here nearly 30 years ago in August of '96, and I didn't know if I was going to stay for 30 years, but I know when I came out, I was completely satisfied with the fact that I would be doing national radio. That's fine. It was a national radio network. I would cover stuff locally when it was, here and there. Major League Sports. Like, if someone told me, I don't think they had to tell me 30 years ago, they're like, yeah, there's not going to be Major League Sports here because of the gambling. The Major Leagues hate Vegas. And then, of course, as time went along, and then I got to be around a guy like Dave Koken, right? Rest in peace, Dave. Dave would always say, he's like, as soon as they find a way to get a profit off the gambling, then we're good. And look what happened, right? Now we can go back to Sorsby and have that whole discussion, right? Like, we took in the Golden Goose, and they took in the Golden Goose, and now they want everything they can of Las Vegas. It's incredible. The Stanley Cup game, I got to set it up this way. I don't know where you were watching the game on Saturday. What were you doing?
I was at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of it leading into something I was going to.
Sure.
I wound up going to a concert that night because we had tickets for like 3 months. I don't go to the games. I don't cover the Golden Knights, so I don't take advantage of free tickets. I know there's a lot of media people who do that. I don't cover them. We have people that cover them. So I'm at this concert, and I'm like trying to watch on my phone, and there's a delay and a delay and a delay, and it's probably like about 8:45 before the main performer comes on stage. And I'll admit, like, he played the first couple songs, and I'm like looking down. Goes to second overtime, right? Because I was watching the first overtime. Go second overtime. I'm like, all right, I got to put the phone away. And then it was like the guy's third song from finishing, right? You want to know who it is? I don't even know if you're going to know who this is.
They just told me.
Christopher Cross.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? Who had like a bunch of big albums, like 79 to 83. If you ever saw the movie Arthur, that's one of his songs is the Arthur theme with Dudley Moore. Go back and watch Arthur. It's very funny.
Okay.
And
King Arthur?
No, Arthur. Dudley Moore, and eventually Dudley Moore was in 10. You can go watch Bo Derek. She's nude. I interviewed. By the way, I should tell that. I had a kid come up and he's like, "Who's the best person you ever interviewed in your whole career?" And I was like, "Oh, we got to talk to President Obama one time. That was kind of cool." And he's like, "What about sports?" And I should have told him, "Don't worry about sports. Right now, punch up your phone and look up Bo Derek." Because that was a great. You know who Bo Derek is either?
No.
Oh my God. Anyway, so it's Christopher Cross, and he's doing his hit song, "Sailing," and it's coming to the end. And all of a sudden, because we were upstairs, right? All of a sudden, this back corner upstairs, people were like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and like, I mean, I know he can hear us, but it was like, with a minute left in a 5-minute song, I'm sure he's like, "Why is there random screaming in the upper deck?" Yeah, everyone was kind of keeping tune of what was going on with VGK, and almost everyone around us was also wearing Golden Knights jerseys, which is one of the things I will tell people from outside the market. The first unit of the A's, I think, bonded the city. I feel like this is different, and it's even next level. That was a disaster. 1 October was awful. But I don't know. There's something about this one. Now that we're getting more Major League sports, now that we've experienced the Raiders who are not hot to trot, like it's hard to win.
Yeah.
And that whole thing last week that we built up, John, about Raleigh not liking us, Toronto not liking us, North America not liking us, it's like emboldened me, and now I feel more part of the community, and I feel I'm more into the Vegas Golden Knights than I've ever been. But I thought that concert story was awesome. These people were there to watch this old star Christopher Cross, who's 75 years old, and he's like, what's going on upstairs? Vegas Golden Knights, brother.
I mean, that's really how it is. So I'll frame it in this context. So in 2017, VSiN was flying me out to Ocean City to cover the football season and open a studio, and I would go in from Philly. And so one of the crazy experiences I had was getting on the tram to get to the airport, and all I had to ask for these Philly people, it's dead winter, "Hey, what's the score of the game?" And everybody turned around. "Oh, the Eagles crushed them." You know immediately what it is. That's where we're at now. You just have to ask, "Hey, what's going on with the game?" And it's the Knights, and it's in the Stanley Cup. You're seeing it everywhere when you're around town. It's absolutely an incredible experience. How many people are into this, and they should be.
It's really cool. Yep. And the way the games have gone have been incredible. We'll break down the games. We're going to get back to more of the A's stuff. I think we're going to talk to Chris Townsend, the pre- and post-host for A's Baseball on TV, also the host of A's Cast. Frankie's Uptown. Come on down. It's starting to build here. You can feel the energy. Tickets are going to be available. You can register for tickets. Lots of giveaways. Lots of goodies. Mitchell's hanging out with us. It's Von Tobel. It's Cofield. Downtown Summerlin on a Monday.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, just getting started here on this Monday. Frankie's Uptown, downtown Cumberland. Right across the street as I elbow someone from LV Ballpark. Chris Townsend's here. He does pre and post. He does A's Cast. A big fan of his, watching all the games over the last couple of years. John Von Tobel, thanks for coming in with us here.
No problem. It's wonderful to finally be here. It's a huge. I know for everybody it's going to be a huge thing, just Major League Baseball official games here. But for a lot of us employees, what we have been through to get here, and it's very unique. You think our players, you think about us. No one in sports has had to do what we've had to do recently. When you talk about leaving a city, going to another city, going to be coming now to Las Vegas, it's been a long, long journey. So I can just speaking for the organization, this means more than just playing games. This is our future home. I look at it from a standpoint when you're building a home and you go to check it out, you get excited, right? Because you know it's going to be finished soon. That's how this feels. But it's good to feel like we finally have a home.
Well, what's it like community-wise out in Sacramento? I mean, obviously you guys spend a lot of time out there, but it's temporary, as you said. You're going to be here. So what's been that dynamic like?
What you need to realize about Sacramento is just essentially it's a government town because it's the capital of the state of California, and it's mainly Bay Area transplants. So it is not very different from the Bay Area, where they're not that far away from each other. And a lot of people that live in Sacramento came from the Bay Area. So it's like an extension of the Bay Area. So it's not anything crazy. It's actually more normal than you think. But there is the oddity of we're just hanging out and then we're leaving. So enjoy it while you got it. And we'll root for Sacramento. Great people. It's been a wonderful family environment. I've really enjoyed how many people have really come up to me and been like, I'm seeing my first ever Major League Baseball game. Kids seeing their first game ever. So there's been a lot of special things in Sacramento, but really looking forward to getting here in 2028.
To add to that dynamic, so I'm geeked out. We were taking pictures of Stomper earlier. But the A's, they've been a really big part of the community that I've realized. My son plays Little League Baseball.
Yeah.
Stomper's been out there a million times already. They've met him. They're all hyped to play it. So community has kind of been a big deal here. Have you gotten, you're in the middle of the season, but you've talked about being out here in Las Vegas. Have you seen a little bit more of the community out here in Las Vegas kind of latching on to the team as they've gotten closer to being this place home?
Well, put it this way. As a young man, I never made it off the Strip, right? You'd think everything is about the Strip. But now that we come out here and, where our new ballpark experience is and being out here, I've got to really experience outside of the Strip. And interviewing a lot of people, you start to realize how community is so big here because there is still a small town feel to how you feel it. So community means something, and everybody knows each other, and that's why it's so important for us to come here and say, this is what we've wanted. We've wanted that community feel. We've wanted to be a part of a community, and we want to build a home here. So that's why I'm going to say it on television tonight. That will be seen all over here and all over Northern California. I'll do it on my talk show here in about an hour. It's like, this series means more than just Major League Baseball games to us. This is about really saying, yeah, we're finally going to be home.
The voice of Chris Townsend here on Cofield and Company. Yeah, on the community part of it, this is a baseball community. So with all these Major League sports coming, first of all, what the Golden Knights are doing is insane. Great organization. We didn't have hockey here, right? We had a lot of transplants. They knew hockey, but we didn't have hockey here. We have NFL football. People have their teams, right?
Yeah.
But this is a basketball and baseball community, and a lot of the baseball part of it is because of the weather. We've produced a lot of good baseball players. High school baseball is big here.
Well, think about this. I grew up in San Diego, and there was no such thing as hockey until Wayne Gretzky showed up to the Los Angeles Kings, and that's what spurred all of this. Because later on after that, I went to college, and I've lived in San Jose, California for years, so the San Jose Sharks. All of that is because Wayne Gretzky went to Los Angeles. So all these places that don't have ice, now everybody loves hockey. As you said, baseball, whether it's Southern Nevada, all Nevada. My best friend is actually from Carson City, who I played ball with at San Jose State, so I know a lot about Carson and Reno. They got great baseball up there. Southern Nevada, you think of all the Major League Baseball players that are in the big leagues now and that you have produced. It's a baseball town. It's a baseball area. The thing was always the gambling was keeping professional sports from being here. Well, once we got over that, now we're seeing everybody wants in. Major League Baseball wants in, and I hope the NBA will get here as soon as possible, and probably right around when we're starting up. So this is a sports town. It should have professional sports, and, yeah, the weather says it should be a baseball town.
Did baseball get over it, or they got a piece of it?
That's it. I put it this way. We have to watch so much stuff and sign stuff that it's crazy to think that we're not allowed to gamble. I'm not allowed to talk about gambling on my shows from a standpoint. I can't tell you whether to bet the over and under tonight. I'm not allowed to do that. We can't even on my show. I can't even bet you a beer on a game. They are so strict in what we can do and what we can say. So... Right. Is it they're getting a part of it now? Is the NFL getting a part of it now? Because I don't know if you guys know, I worked for the Raiders. I'm the only guy that worked for the Raiders and the A's when they both left Oakland. So I'm the one guy that's been a part of all this, these wars of leaving. I've been a part of it. But, yeah, it's there is no question they figured out a way to monetize it. And then all of a sudden, once they were able to monetize it, they were okay with it. But as employees, they're not okay with it. It's really interesting.
Chris, give the Vegas audience an idea of what's coming with the stadium, because you guys have a little more insight to what's being built.
Well, the stadium is it's gonna be plush, right? And it's gonna have something for everybody. Obviously, when you're coming to Vegas, you got to have the high roller section of the stadium. But then it's gotta have the family section of the stadium. And traveling around all baseball, I noticed with all the stadiums, they did a great job taking care of corporations, let's call it the VIP type, and didn't do enough for the families. And I think we've taken that, we've seen that what they didn't do, and we're going to give you both. And I think that's why it's going to be, at least for now, the best ballpark in baseball, is because it's really, for the first time, going to cater to everybody. And to me, and I've talked to Jason Giambi, former MVP for the A's, who lives here in Vegas. I remember we were doing an interview. He said, you got to realize there are so many families here that need something to do in the summer. You can only throw the kids in the pool so much, right?
Yes.
I mean, you need a place to go. And the fact that we're going to make sure that we have the family entertainment, that is a big thing. Yes, we're going to have the high roller stuff. You got to have that. Whether it's in Vegas or anywhere else, you got to have that. We saw that with when the Giants opened up the ballpark in San Francisco. You got to take care of corporations and, of course, the casinos here and the VIPs. But I think what we're really going to do a really good job with taking care of the families.
Let's talk about the other reason to get excited, and that is the young core, and they really made some moves to start signing some of these guys. Now, Kurtz and Langoliers hopefully come pretty soon, but just talk about the core and how those guys are going to be, not only in terms of their growth as players, but also good community guys.
All right, so for Nick Kurtz, just going to put it out there. You got a guy that, barring injury, could have a plaque someday in Cooperstown. And I don't take that lightly because I've been to Cooperstown a few times. I know what it means to be a baseball Hall of Famer. He is an all-world talent. And enjoy it. Enjoy it now. Enjoy it when he gets here, because these guys don't come around often. That's how good he is. For years, we had to sell our young talent because we were in Oakland, no one cared, and we always had to make sure we don't have to sell this guy. Everybody, for God's sakes, last year in August, Vegas took him off the board for Rookie of the Year. You know how early that is to where they say this thing's over, we're not even going to take bets on it, right? And he was Player of the Month, twice Rookie of the Month. Now he's Player of the Month again. You're looking at truly, when you think of Aaron Judge, you think of Shohei Ohtani. Now Shohei's different because he's the two-way guy. But when you talk, we overuse the word superstar. We don't have that many superstars in baseball, but we do have some. And Nick Kurtz is about to be one of those guys. So we're bringing one of the very best players in the game, plus all the other young talent. It won't be young when we get here. That's what's going to be exciting. We're going to be ready to compete.
Right here, Angels fan. Uh-oh.
No,
Uh-oh.
We've
What
got
questions.
Doing? No, we've got questions. We've got questions. I may or may not have taken a picture of myself in this jersey and said, send it to Artie, because I'm out. They're terrible.
Wait, officially you're
Yes, I'm out.
I didn't know that today was the day.
No, today's
Are
the day.
you from Orange County?
I was born in Orange County.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So I'm an
You guys-
Angels-Clippers fan.
You got to remember, they had a hell of a run. There was
did.
a lot of success. It was 3 million people a year. They had a hell of a run, and things change. It is very hard to sustain winning.
Yep.
Now, will they get it back? By the way, this is the great Tony Kemp, if you guys don't know. But
I was like, stay calm. No
it'll-
Ohtani rant, please.
I'm just going to tell you, yeah, that was a blunder, not trading him.
Slight
Same thing with
blunder.
Scooble now.
Sorry.
If Detroit doesn't see what's going on. But I try and tell everybody it goes in waves. You had a run. You won a World Series. You were in the playoffs almost every single year with Mike Scioscia. You had a run. It'll be back. It's very hard to sustain forever.
I mean, to the point of waves, the tide is like the moon has been destroyed and the tide has just sunk in the ocean. There's nothing. They've got nothing.
Still, it isn't bad, some of the stuff we've been through.
It's a good point. But I was like 11 when they won the World Series. It didn't matter to me that much. It was cool.
Well, then now you've become an A's fan, and we've won 9 World Series, and we've put a bunch of guys into the Hall of Fame, and we're bringing one of the best baseball winning traditions to Las Vegas.
And they're young. That's the best part. I get to grow with them, even though I'm 35. But still, I get to grow with them.
You're young. Chris Townsend is with us. Let's close on this. What's the coverage like this week? And tell people about A's Cast, because obviously there's a tremendous amount of coverage with that.
So A's Cast is something unique. It was something that we created when we left our flagship radio station in San Francisco. It was actually a station that I built, and I had to make a decision to go with. I've always gone with the A's, so I had to make a decision: go with the A's or stay with the radio station I built, and I stayed with the A's. We created this thing called A's Cast, which essentially people look at it as a podcast, but at first it basically was a functioning 24/7 radio station played off as a podcast, which we then took to video, which now is streaming everywhere, whether you want to, YouTube, Instagram, on Twitter, X, and then now it's become our cable flagship pre- and post-game show on NBC Sports California. So it is a lot of everything, but it's where you need to go when you want all your A's news. This is where the Mark Kotze show is, our manager. This is where the David Force show is, our general manager. It's where you're going to get all of our players. Every single week we have players. We have more A's information, and we give it to you. It's from the A's perspective, and if you actually listen, you'll know that I come down hard on the A's at times, so it's not just a homer view, but it's a good place that the A's needed a home. As we said, we need a home in Vegas. Well, we needed a home for television, radio, streaming, and our radio network. A's Cast really is a home that we created, and I can tell you every year at the winter meetings, every team comes up to me, and they want to know how are we monetizing it, how's it working, because they know what we did will end up being the future of Major League Baseball.
Chris, nice to meet you. Appreciate you coming on. I know you got a busy night tonight. We'll come back. We'll set you up for Game 3 in the NBA Finals. As boy, it's very quiet around MSG right now. I don't like this.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, just getting into things here at Frankie's Uptown. The Energy Chameleon. John Von Tobel very fired up. Just got a chance to talk to pre and post and A's Cast host Chris Townsend, who's been around the A's and the Bay Area forever. Got y'all hyped up. Maybe the Angels switch is going to become official to the Athletics. We got a game tonight over at LV Ballpark, and then a 6-game series, Brewers and then Rockies. And we'll be watching the game here and also checking out Game 3 of the NBA Finals. You're a massive NBA guy. Before we actually break down the game in the 5 o'clock hour, I got to talk about the setting. Yeah. And I just mentioned to Chris on the way out about, the Knicks and MSG, and it's real quiet around there. I don't think he knew what was going on. I don't think a lot of people know what's going on. So DJT is going to visit tonight, Trump. I don't know how much of this is him. I have a feeling a lot of it is, but it's also because they have to make sure they can crowd control. And we've seen the setup for the series, John, and this first home game in a final since '99 for the Knicks is the tickets are like $7,000 to get in upstairs. Yeah. I mean, down on the floor, who knows what they're. So the average fan, they can't get in. So what they've been doing is been kind of hanging around MSG, and there've been some little areas you can watch the games, and you have viewing parties. Well, because Trump is there, and also I think they want to make sure they have crowd control, they've now cordoned off like blocks upon blocks around Madison Square Garden. Have you been there before?
I have been to Madison Square Garden, not for a game, but I have been.
So I don't even know how they're managing this part of it. Penn Station is still a working hub for the entire New York area to get in and out of Manhattan.
It's directly underneath it.
Now, the thing is, there are tunnels that go everywhere, and they could probably shoot them out somewhere outside of the area. But when I explain later to folks who are from New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, like how much of it they have closed down, the whole point is the vibe there outside the arena is going to be really weird. And then I wonder what it's like inside.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be like.
So you know how I feel about New York and everything like that, but when you hear people talk about, Knicks fans are just different, it's not the ones in the building. Those are, as you say about the Raiders games at times, it's a wine and cheese crowd.
I like Ben Stiller movies,
enough.
But he's a wine and cheese guy.
Yes.
Most of the celebrities. I wish I knew Chalamet more. The fact that he's doinking one of the whatever their sisters are there, that's impressive. Good for him.
Jenner.
Yeah, Jenner.
Look, and I like Chalamet too. He seems like a nice guy. He knows who Lil B the bass god is. Like, I understand all of that. He seems like a good dude. Having said that, I'm tired of watching him and Ben Stiller dap each other up in a private tunnel underneath the game. I'm sick of the celebrities. Like, I cannot do this anymore. ESPN was doing this thing. It was like, which celebrity would you like to sit next to at the game? No.
Either.
You cannot sit here, and this is the one time I'll defend New York and New Yorkers. This is about them. Yeah. This is not about you. This is not about Jenner or Chalamet, Ben Stiller or Tracy Morgan or Tina Fey. It's not about any of them. When you sit here and hype this city up and you want to talk about how special it is, go out into the streets. Go talk to the my bagels are Jewish, my mayor is Muslim, my Christians Dior, Nixon 4 guy. Go talk to that guy. The guys that are out there dancing with the robot in the street. Yes. Those are the people that we want to talk to.
I didn't know where he was going with my Christian is Dior.
Yep. Then ended it wonderfully with the Nixon 4. But that to me is the most irritating part. Again, I am anti-New York. But the favorite thing I've ever heard about a New Yorker is you show them a piece of gum, they'll teach you how to chew it. Like they're annoying. Yeah. But in this instance, when it is about that community and celebrating their team for as long as they have been down, screw the rich folks. I want to see. Eat the rich, Steve. That's what I'm saying. Break down the gates, storm Madison Square Garden, and start a riot. This may or may be the second time I have, by extension, threatened Donald Trump's life today on air, but I don't mean that. I just mean you deserve your time.
Power to the people. You
That's
want
right.
a little civil disobedience. There's nothing wrong with that. Coming up, Steve Kim is with us here on Cofield and Company.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, NBA Game 3 coming up, 5:30. We'll be cutting out. It's right here on ESPN Las Vegas. We are at Frankie's Uptown in DTS. Von Tobel, Mitchell, Cofield. We're going to try to grab Tony Kemp, major leaguer, who's signing autographs here. Come on down, meet, greet, kiss the babies. Lots of A's swag and a chance to sign up for tickets for later in the week. It's Frankie's Uptown in Summerlin and downtown Summerlin. All right, I was talking earlier about the weird setup now around MSG, and you and I are both really big on, like, the people, right? The people. Screw the celebrities. The people are what drives these teams and what drives the athletes, and they love these teams. Steve Kim is up with us. Steve has covered boxing and fighting for a long time. He's a L.A. sports fan, a Miami Hurricane fan. What's up, Steve?
Gentlemen, good Monday to you.
So I don't know if you're getting wind of what's going on around MSG. It's a really weird setup, and I think part of it is because the president is there, but I also think this may be permanent where they've kind of cordoned off the area. Looks like Escape from New York, or is happening around. Maybe they're expecting it. But what do you think about kind of shutting down the whole area for like blocks and blocks and blocks so that fans are basically being pushed out to parks 10 and 20 blocks away?
Yeah, I don't know if that has to do with the president. I do know this. When I went to the national championship game that Donald Trump attended, some of the logistics for the fans and where you could go freely from one section to another, it was a little bit different. Okay, and I've been in that stadium, Hard Rock, many times. I wonder if it's a behavioral issue because the Knicks fans are certainly very rabid, very rambunctious, and maybe they, look, they're up 2-0, and they're going to be into an incredibly celebratory mode, right? Should they go up 3-0, and now you have another, 20,000 people that are going to be inside the venue. I'm just wondering if that was part of the process. But to your overall point, I think it is bad, and I've seen this with boxing systematically, guys, for big fights. When the average, everyday, hardcore fan is priced out, that has long-term ramifications. They're not felt immediately, but eventually over time there is an erosion.
Oh, I think it's definitely happened in boxing, and, I love Vegas, and I love having the fights here, but, the fact that some of those big fights over the last 30, 40 years where, the get-in price was hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, at some point the average fan's like, well, I can't afford it. Like, they're not even going to look up the ticket prices. And I guess my thing on the Trump visit, while where he's a sports fan, he wants to be there. I don't know what he's doing, if he's currying favor. It would have been cool though a couple of days ago if he just said, you know what, I didn't realize you're going to have to do all this. You know what, for the fans, I'm not coming. But I guess he's not going to do that, and it's too late anyway. It wouldn't do any good.
That doesn't seem to be in his DNA, for better or worse.
Yeah.
You know what the worst thing about the boxing thing is? Even if you could afford tickets, you can't get them. Because the reality is, no matter what the price is, a lot of those seats that are coveted, you can't get. The casinos have them, and they give them out to the players. So even if you had the economic means and you really wanted some tickets, right, those tickets are never available. They're given to people already. And then they got corporate sponsors, and then you have the network executives. And, I still remember, I brought this up with Whitlock. Steve, do you remember the Trinidad De La Hoya fight in 1999, how no seat was made available to the public at the Mandalay Bay because the casinos bought every single one of them?
It's funny, I don't remember that. I was there, but I didn't remember that being a storyline.
Yes. And I remember thinking, we're going to have an issue here. See, again, these things don't matter in the immediate, but if you want to grow this sport and you continually shut out the people that are remaining, that are going to be there more consistently, you're going to have an issue. And I remember I was one of the few media members saying no one sees a problem in this. So, this is nothing new. And the other reality is some of those ticket prices are just what a broker thinks. I don't know if it's a real market or not. I mean, everyone talks about supply and demand. The bottom line is a lot of these tickets are on consignment. They're already given to the brokers who set an artificial market. And so, I have a good friend, Jim Boone of KO Tickets, who's taught me a lot about this business. Sometimes this system is gamed against the public, and that is a shame.
Yep. And my guess is that, at tip, those last 10 minutes, the get-in price for the Knicks game won't be $7,000, but by then it's too late, and it's still going to be expensive. I can tell you here in Vegas, we got something goofy going on with Raiders games and concerts at Allegiant Stadium. A lot of times you see the get-in price. You'll walk up to the stadium, and the get-in price for, crap seats upstairs will still be $300, and you get your ticket, you walk in, there's 20,000 empty seats. Like, I just got gotten. That's another feeling where you're like, hey, I just got screwed. We got something really interesting going on with this UFC Trump 80 event coming up this weekend. How many outdoor fights have you been to, Steve, where weather threatened or maybe a fight even got canceled? Because we're going to have weather in D.C., and this is the great fear of Dana White. He said this over and over again over the years, that I don't want to do a fight outside like in Hawaii because of the weather, and they may have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you read stories of the days when there's stadium fights, like Yankee Stadium, right, involving guys like Joe Louis, Ray Robinson, and they would tell you if it rained, they had to rain it out. They would just cancel the event for that day, and they'd go the next day, and so that's always an issue. And that was the thing about the Caesars Palace. Before all the expansion, they used to have that outdoor arena. One of the bigger issues is it was 120 degrees at 8 o'clock at night, or 30 degrees once it hit Halloween. So, yeah, any time that you put up an event in an open-air venue, there is a chance. I remember when Caesars Palace did a smaller show in the front area, and I remember it was Antonio Margarito, Kermit Citron, and some main event fighters. It was a small ESPN pay-per-view. So it was like 20 years ago. Right around the main event, it started to sprinkle, and there was no covering. Now, fortunately, it kind of subsided, but I also remember in 2018, Steve, they did a show in Carson, Top Rank. It was Scott Quick against Oscar Valdez. It rained the whole day, and it literally killed the venue, and there was less than 1,000 people outside, and basically all the media outside of me, because I didn't have a computer, I wasn't doing deadline, they all watched the fight from the media center. Yeah, so it's an issue. I've actually been to a fight that has been greatly impacted negatively by the weather. That was 2018, Scott Quigg, Oscar Valdez. Look up that broadcast. It just rains the whole day, whole night.
Steve Kim with us, 3 Knockdown Rule podcast. And I'm curious, Steve, who cares if it rains? Let's say it doesn't. DC's humid. It's hot. Wouldn't this mat be slick? If you're grappling on the ground, how do you get grip with your feet? I mean, this seems like it could just be a nightmare even if it doesn't rain.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues. I was never a fan of this. I don't know why we really need it. I know, because you're already politicizing. Anything involved with Donald Trump is going to be, greatly scrutinized, whether it's unfair or not. I didn't know. I don't know how good this card is. There's mixed reviews. I know a lot of people are kind of grousing about the fact certain fighters are not involved. I'm not really an MMA guy. But when you put any event outdoors and there's not a controlled environment, right, and you see this a lot in football, you risk those events and the actual performances being really, really impacted. And I think that's why most of these stadiums, aren't they now basically all going to go retractable roof just to make sure that Mother Nature does not play a factor at all?
Yep. Steve Kim with us here on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. All right, Brendan Sorsby now has an injunction from a Texas judge saying that he can play quarterback for Texas Tech. I know you were retweeting a lot of the feedback. What do you think?
Well, I think I might put in a ticket for him to win the Heisman. He's back on, right? I mean, my odds are going to be pretty good. I don't get this. At what point now are there just no rules? It's interesting. Look, we have to be honest. Every single fan would be hypocritical that if Brendan Sorsby was our quarterback, we'd all be hailing it like, yes.
Yep.
However, Texas Tech has this guy by the name of Cody Campbell, this billionaire who's funding the program. He's the sugar daddy of the Red Raiders. And he's acting as some sort of reformist for college sports. Like he's the great reformer, and we got to have structure. Well, and this guy's now basically celebrating, and he put out some statement about, well, Brendan Sorsby's a victim of this. Oh, get out of here, really? There are times when players are victims. They haven't been fairly treated. But a guy betting over and over again, that has nothing to do with any of the stuff that is going on in college sports in terms of how players should be compensated. And I just find him to be incredibly hypocritical. He should be branded as a complete charlatan and just an outright fraud.
I want to follow up real quick on your thing about the Heisman. Maybe you're serious or not. There's probably a couple of voters, if not a lot, that are going to, in protest, not vote for Sorsby, even if he has a Heisman-type season.
Yeah, no, there's going to be a backlash. And I'm actually, did you read this from a certain Big 12, the conference? They're trying to boycott Texas Tech. I don't know if that's possible. But it's actually being tweeted out by reputable sources. It's not these parody accounts.
Yeah.
So I just find it really interesting that the school that is led by Cody Campbell, the great reformer, is actually just doing this. It's incredibly brazen. I think, to me, we all want a little bit of structure, right? We don't want complete anarchy. And the fact that this guy here can just do what he did, my view is this. If you really care about it, send him into rehab and make sure he can't play so he's not scrutinized. He's not going to be materially damaged by not playing. Just sit him out a year. I don't understand these arguments. They hold no weight with me.
Well, college football, the NCAA gets itself in this situation because their rules don't mean anything. And oftentimes their rules are actually not legal. They're not negotiated with the performers, with the athletes, with the laborers. So this is the situation they get themselves into. And I saw you retweeted Ian Fitzsimmons all butthurt about it and said, what would happen if a program wanted to just go and sign an NFL player that just got cut in camp? Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Lane Kiffin, do it. Let's break the whole friggin' thing.
In basketball, isn't it? Aren't guys who actually played in the NBA? I'm not a fan of what's going on. I still enjoy it, and quite frankly, I need the content because this is what we cover.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though, about like Will Wade at LSU doing this, right? Well, Will Wade's not acting like he's a crusader trying to clean this up. Will Wade is a coach trying to do his job to win games by any means necessary.
Yep.
I think the issue is that Cody Campbell has put himself as like this bastion of integrity, and I'm going to save college sports. You know what? Get out of here with that.
Steve Kim is with us. I saw some spirited discussion this morning on Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Steve Kim's with us. He's part of that cast. On Caitlin Clark, and the anger sharks are swimming around Caitlin Clark. Do you agree that she should be asking out of Indiana, and where should she try to get traded to?
I don't know if it's specifically L.A., like it's being rumored or brandied about. I think she needs to go to an organization that's going to really tailor their team around her and her skill set. And you got to get a bunch of players that understand you're not going to get the ball a lot anymore, and you're not going to have any plays called for you. But that's what it is. You're going to be like Allen Iverson in 2001. You got to surround her, with their version of Eric Snow, Aaron McKee, Matt Geiger, all those guys that did all the dirty work. And I don't know if that league or that team wants that to happen. I mean, it is bizarre that the one true star that they have, that doesn't mean she's the best player, but the one true star, it almost seems like there's this stated agenda to make sure she doesn't succeed.
Steve Kim's with us. Let's wrap on this one. So typical boxing. Tell me if I'm wrong on this one. What's happening with Riley Romero, who's got amazing momentum, and now we're hearing whispers that he's going to come back, but he needs a warm-up fight.
Well, here's the thing. He has not fought in over a year. He fought on Cinco de Mayo weekend last year. The WBA said a couple of weeks ago the winner of the Jack Catterall fight with Shakram Giesev was going to be mandatory. And now they're talking like, well, he needs a tune-up fight first. No, he doesn't. The WBA needs to make a drawn line that says, look, if you fight next and it's not against Jack Catterall, you need to be stripped. And I'm wondering at what stage do one of these high-powered promoters or the manager take an absolute stand and just sue the hell out of these guys to smithereens. It's been done before with Graciano Roccagiani about 35 years ago at the BC, and unfortunately Roccagiani settled. But these are the things that strengthen the position and the talking points of Dana White and Nick Khan as it relates to them doing a UBO.
82 days until the beginning of the college football season. Can't wait. I do the countdown every week with you, Steve Kim. Appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you.
Thanks. See you guys later. Have a good week.
There he is, Steve Kim. Steve Kim 323 up on Twitter. Okay, first on the Caitlin Clark thing. I don't think she's going to ask for a trade. I also think people are overreacting, and for a guy like Whitlock, this is his red meat.
Sure.
He loves it. It's his bit now, so he's all over Caitlin Clark. If she did ask for a trade, what she should do is ask for a trade to a club that is a winner and already has a point guard. So she can just play two guard and be point guard every once in a while. It doesn't have to be this whole thing like Steve is saying where she's got to go somewhere and jack up 32 shots a game. We'll take her here in Vegas. Another organization doesn't want their star player, just like the Golden Knights. We'll take Caitlin Clark. Jewel Lloyd, straight up. Let's go.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, rolling on 4 o'clock hour. We call an audible. We'll have you sit on this side. No big four here. We'll get to some of the news of the day in a couple of minutes. We're heading towards Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Very weird New York setting. I'll tell you more about that with a lot of the fans pushed like blocks and blocks away from MSG because the president is visiting and also those fans are pretty crazy. Von Tobel, Cofield. Tony Kemp sits down with us. He's signing autographs, meeting, greeting, kissing babies, probably petting dogs as well. What's going on, buddy?
How we doing, guys? Thanks for having me.
We're good.
It.
Is it weird for you because you're not an old guy to be like, hey, A's legend.
No. Hey,
here's Reggie. Here's Tony.
You know what? I'm just happy to be in that whole class. I think I'm the only non-Hall of Famer that's here. So, I guess it speaks to just kind of what I did for the A's when I played for them, and to be able to play till I was 33 years old, man, true blessing. And I always like doing stuff like this, coming back and mingling with fans and stuff. It almost feels natural, I guess.
Okay, I'm going to make another comment. I'm like Mr. Awkward on Sports Talk Radio, so I'm going to be off-putting.
It's okay.
Okay, so I've never met you face to face.
Okay.
I have to say, you're not a big guy.
No.
I mean, we know what I see you listed. So for you to play that long in the major leagues.
Thank you.
Great job. That's incredible.
Thank
you. Seriously, you deserve that. One of our main contributors who played in the NFL is a guy named Mark McMillan, and Mark's a little over 50. He played with the Eagles back with Reggie White and that whole crew.
Okay, yeah.
And he's 5'6".
Small.
He's like 5'6", 181 when he played.
Small.
But he could jump. He's a 4'4" guy.
Athletic.
What is it like on the road up? Because you're doubted at every turn.
Yeah, I would say honestly, and that was my main point to a lot of the younger guys that trying to make it to the big leagues. And I only had 2 scholarship offers, but one of those was a full ride to Vandy right in my backyard. And once I got to Vandy, it was almost like there's people that were like, okay, you're not going to play your freshman year. You're not going to play till you're maybe a senior or junior. And I think a lot of that just kind of fueled me. And I feel like iron sharpens iron. I feel like once I got around that atmosphere, it kind of upped my game. And, a lot of stuff has to be said to Tim Corbin about what he did for my career. He said, you might be 5'6", but when you're on the field, you play like you're 6'5". And so, like, that always kind of resonated with me, and just being able to flow with the game. And then I got drafted, and then I was like, okay, SEC Player of the Year, but still got drafted in the 5th round, which was, like, late in that sense, but I was just happy to get drafted. I didn't know, and I was like, whatever. It's like, give me a bat, give me a ball, let's go. And I think the main point is being able to get drafted by the Astros, be with Altuve, switch positions just to be able to mold in that game. And I'm thankful for the time that I came up, because playing 9 years in the big leagues now, that's so hard to do. I think the major league average is like 2 years now. And I think what's hard about it is the analytic part of the game. Like, I came up in a realm where hit the ball hard, play hard, know the ins and outs of the game, run the bases well, good defense, and swing the bat. And, now there's so much that's being measured that, the intangibles and stuff like that are getting taken out of the game, or like a older guy who's been around the league is kind of getting taken out of the game. So sometimes the clubhouses aren't the same because those guys just haven't been there to do that. So, yeah, to be able to play for as long as I did, man, I sleep good at night because I know that I gave everything I had.
Was there a moment during the grind of it all where you, do you remember a day or anything where you just sat there and you were like, man, I'm getting up again for this? Like, what am I doing? Was there at any point where you questioned what you were doing?
I think when I got to low A and my first check was like $420 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, here we go. But, I think for myself, I think what really helped me is when I was at Vanderbilt, you're really trained on your mental toughness. And I really do feel like there was a lot of guys who had better talent than me, but I really do feel like, I was able to flush those 0 for 4, 0 for 5 days and just move on to the next day. And it is what it is, because at the end of the day, there's still less than 24,000 people to ever play one day in the big league. So just to know about that elite class, and I just love the game. My brother tells a story about we had a game at 6 o'clock at night. I think I was like 8 years old, and I had my uniform on at 7 a.m. And, I always loved the game. I always loved it. It was a little chess match for me. So, no, I always was ready to roll.
Tony Kemp is with us here on Cofield and Company, ESPN Reno, ESPN Las Vegas. Starting trouble, right? Starting trouble. Are you paying attention at all to college baseball?
Yeah. What we got? Let's talk.
Well, what I wanted to bring up is it's complete upheaval. So NIL and all this money stuff, everyone's like, oh, basketball and football are being ruined. Meanwhile, baseball, there's upsets all over the place. And I heard we had a guest last week talk about it, that he's like, there's so many players around the country that there just isn't college scouting in terms of the numbers.
It's too big
to look at everyone. So guys are going to slip through the cracks. Yeah. Guys might wind up at Vanderbilt, but they also might wind up at some small school.
Yeah.
And but they have tremendous upside.
Yeah. I think there has to be a certain cap on this whole wild, wild west that we call college athletics, because I really do feel like it's kind of getting a little out of hand. I'm happy the players are getting paid. I want that to happen. But I do think there needs to be some sort of like, okay, you're going to make this much, and I don't want to say cap it, but, some of these guys, I think it's a false sense of reality when you're making $500,000, $1 million, and then say you don't make the league, and then you're never going to make that money again in your life unless anyway. But I think it's good. I think college baseball, in terms of now seeing the teams like Troy and West Virginia and Alabama and these teams in Oklahoma, these teams that are now making it, I think it's special because kind of evens the playing field in a sense. And, my team, Vandy, first time they didn't make the playoff in 20 years. So now it just shows you, LSU won the Natty last year, and they're not even in the tournament. And they're not even in the tournament. So it just shows you what it takes to stay on top.
It's also just good for program support, right? Like now you have a reason to go watch this team. I got to go to Omaha for the first time last year.
How was that?
To cover it. It was really cool. Now, our setup was inside of the Jello shot room, so, it was a little bit of a unique experience. But to that point, to get more people involved in college baseball as well, to give other teams a chance, it's huge.
Yeah, what was that? Do you remember the Jello shot count for LSU?
Oh, I can look it up in 2 seconds. It was over 60,000, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw a tweet. I think it was from Van Pelt or somebody. They're like, West Virginia, I'm looking at you. If it's anybody, you can beat the Jello shot record.
So the Jello shot record was set by LSU in 2023. That's 68,888.
Oh my God.
Last year, they had 52,390.
That is insane. But that's awesome. I mean, I was the first hit in that stadium. Yes,
oh, really?
Yes. So good little trivia for you.
That's a really nice ballpark, by the way.
First batter, 40,000 people. And people were asking me about it. Hey, are you going to swing at the first pitch? And I was like, I haven't even thought about that. But George Bush threw out the first pitch. It was awesome. We played North Carolina our first game, and I ended up swinging at the first pitch, and they were supposed to keep it for, like, the Hall of Fame or whatever. And I guess some couple ended up getting it and negotiating, like, 2 tickets to every game for the next 2 years or something like that, and they're like, deal. Yeah. So, anyway, then I bunted the next pitch. But great stadium, beautiful park. That was Vandy's first time to go to the College World Series in 2011, so get really good memories.
Former Oakland A, Tony Kemp, sits down with Steve and John here at Frankie's Uptown. Are you a Vegas guy?
In what sense?
Do you like it? Have you been here a bunch? Do you go crazy?
Yeah, I've been here a bunch. Coming up with the Astros in the minor leagues, when I was playing for Fresno, our division was in Vegas. So I came here a lot, stayed at the Old Strip at the Golden Nugget. But it was a good way to hone in because I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of distractions around me. And you would see a bunch of guys crumble when they come here. It's like, hey, I'm going to wear 0 for 20 because I know I'm going to be going out. And I'm like,
the Vegas flu.
Do your thing. I mean,
that's the first year in the NHL, the Golden Knights teams would come here.
Yeah.
And they might not have the flu here, but the next stop, oh, boy, they were terrible.
Hungover, yeah. I think that I enjoyed Vegas. I think it's good. Easy flight. I live in Nashville, so it's easy flight. But, yeah, you could definitely get yourself into some trouble here, but if you have some discipline, you'll be all right.
Is Nashville going to kill it for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, they're going to crush. What's that, 2030, 2029?
I think 2030.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be insane. I have a couple rental properties there, so I'm getting them ready.
Well, let's get his number.
I was going to say, we were going
help.
out there to cover it.
And
Yeah,
then
Okay.
We'll call him and be
Let
like,
me know.
you're at a quarter what I can get for this guy. Get
Let
the
me
hell out of
know.
here. Yeah.
Here you go. Hey, you can stay here for $10.
I guarantee it ain't going to be $10.
Yeah, it's not going to be $10.
All right, let's talk about this build with
Yeah.
the A's because the timing is so perfect here. You don't have this happen often where a bunch of guys who are like 23 to 27
Yes.
all start coming together.
Yes.
You can sign them. When they land here in 2028, avoid injuries, and this is going to be a core of like 10 or 11, 12 guys, maybe more that came through here.
Yeah, I think it's important for the A's, and you look at the work that David Forrest has done and how he's built this roster, and now having Max Muncy back, for tonight. We talked about that earlier. It's special. I think that they're still missing a couple things in terms of what's going to get them over that hump. But I think for your core, I think the next guy that's got to get locked up is Langoliers. I mean, you look around the catching around the league, it's to have a power hitting catcher how he is and what he does defensively is amazing. But what I tell people is he's even better in the clubhouse and how he travels on the plane and how he truly handles the staff and brings guys together. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next one.
Do you have a player comp from your days with Nick Kurtz? 6'5", 230, great eye, good power, good defensively, good guy.
Yeah. In terms of what's his comp that I have for him, when he was coming to the league, I had Kyle Schwarber. That was like my comp because first time I saw Kyle Schwarber hit was in person was at the Futures game in 2015. And I remember it sounded like fireworks going off. And I think Nick Kurtz has that same ability.
I was thinking Sean Casey, but a lot better.
That too. He's faster than Sean Casey.
That's not a great compliment, but I get your point. I get your point. How much are you paying attention? Have you been paying attention to what's going on with this team?
Yeah, ask me. Let's go. What we got?
Well, the pitching staff obviously is going to be, the thing they have to kind of fortify the bullpen. But I will tell you, having Gage jump up and start the way he did the last two times out, my God, they might have a number one pitcher, and maybe he's a number one, like, legitimately this year.
Yeah, I think he came out with a couple shaky innings at the beginning, but, I mean, the guy's just starting his big league career, and, you got to give guys time to develop, and, he was a high-round pick and shot up through the minor leagues, and, I think everyone kind of knows the writing on the wall in terms of bullpen and arms, and it kind of shows you arms, they're at a premium, and to be able to bring some guys to free agencies to come sign for Sacramento is going to be hard to do. So I think that's one of the things that they're building and they're working on, and Forrest is for sure, he knows that.
How much do you think it improves for this pitching staff once they get to like a real ballpark in a couple of years?
Yeah, I think that's the thing too is you see what they're doing on the road, I guess is what we're kind of getting at. And when you do go on the road, you kind of feel like you're at a real big league ballpark, and you kind of get the sense of really what's going on. And I think the mental shift is just different when you go to a different park, and you're like, okay, maybe this ball is going to hold a little better. Maybe I don't have to be so fine with my fastball up in the zone. So we'll see. I think the guys are very aware of that, though.
All right, Tony, we'll let you get back to enjoying the music, the meet and greet and all that.
All right, if you can hear yourself.
I know, right? And we only have an hour to go.
All right.
We're good.
Thanks for
Tony.
having me.
There he is, Tony Kemp with us here on this Monday as we're hanging out at Frankie's Uptown, downtown. You can come on down here, register for tickets for the rest of the series. I also want to remind you that Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final is coming up, so we'll have more preview of what's going on with VGK and Carolina. And I got to read you on the way back, a little later in the show, probably around 4:35, an olive branch that was extended by a fan of the Hurricanes and in Raleigh. And it's the first time I'm like, you know what? We kind of are similar. You don't have to hate us. We don't have to hate you in North Carolina. And, hey, listen, frankly, I think there are a lot of hockey fans right now, especially in the cold weather areas, who are really pissed off that it's Raleigh and Vegas in this thing. But guess what? Vegas ain't going anywhere anytime soon. They might win the Cup this year, and with their owner, Bill Foley, he's going to keep freaking driving this thing.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
John, did you bet the Knicks tonight?
Yes, I did.
What was the number?
1.5. Still got some time. 1.5, 215.5. I actually have it up in front of me right here.
What do you think the atmosphere is going to be like in the building?
I mean, I think it's going to be loud. I think it's going to be intense, I guess. But we'll put it this way, to the theme of what we talked about when it comes to eating the rich and screw everybody else. If you let the people that are outside in the building, as opposed to these fruity wine and cheese folks that can afford these tickets, I think it's way more intense. A lot better. And it's still going to be a very good environment.
In the building. As we've been pointing out, outside the building, it's going to kind of suck because basically they've shut down everything around the arena.
Yep.
So all those parties, I know people are listening and are like, what's the big deal? Who cares? Well, I care as a regular fan. I'm not a Knicks fan. But if there's a fan-shared experience, that goes bye-bye. Now, Mayor Mamdani has kind of saved the day because he set up 3 different watch parties around Manhattan and one in Brooklyn. One is at Bryant Park, which if I remember correctly, I think that's like 42nd and 6th. I don't know if you ever walked around
Is
Manhattan.
that close?
It's pretty close.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the Garden is around 33rd to 36th.
Okay.
And it's on 7th and 8th. It's in between 7th and 8th. So it's not super far away. But I don't know. I find the whole thing a little off-putting. I mean, they have blocks and blocks around the arena closed down, which I find super annoying. Just so you know, did you look at this picture of the security walls that encompass like 2 blocks width and like 4 blocks deep?
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. There was a report earlier. Vehicular and pedestrian traffic will be closed from West 30th to West 35th between 6th and 8th Avenue. It's a pretty big area. No one will be allowed inside the secure area unless you have a ticket to the game, a train ticket, or are going to a business inside the area, have credentials, or some authorized reason to be there.
Yep.
So,
dude, no, it sucks.
It's a bummer.
But one of the themes of what we're talking about here today has been community. We've talked about this a couple of times with the A's connecting with our community, the community's connection to the Vegas Golden Knights after the start of the season, that their first, with boots on the ground out here, and the tragedy that unfolded on 1 October, and how much people care about these teams. These people care about this team, but you're ostracizing them for the sake of making money and getting all the richies in there so you can make that cash. It takes away from what, and I'm so anti-sportsmanship and all that stuff, as you know, but it takes away from the spirit of all of this. This is what you're supposed to rally your communities around this team and have them go in there and enjoy this, and instead they have to be huddled around a minivan with the trunk open and a television because they can't make it into the building because of how much it costs.
Lots of big stories going on. Golden Knights obviously got Game 4 tomorrow. We'll get into Game 3 a little more in a couple of minutes. College football is as big as any sport in this country, and we've got a massive story that came down today with Brendan Storsby. He's the kid who has a gambling addiction and was betting on his team at Indiana. We have proof that he was betting on his team at Cincinnati?
Not Cincinnati, just Indiana.
I know he kept betting more and more and more when he was around Texas Tech for the short time he's been there. Well, the NCAA banned him. He challenged the ban and said, his attorneys, hey, the kid's got a gambling addiction and he's got mental health issues. They still turned him down. He went to a Texas judge and got a ruling this morning, an injunction that I don't really understand the finality of this, but it says he can play. It also said he will serve a 2-game suspension as part of the ruling. In addition, he officially won't be eligible to participate in the NFL supplemental draft. So the way that reads, doesn't that read that it's official? He is 100% playing?
Right.
Like there's not going to be any other court challenges. The NCAA is not going to kick it up to the appellate court, which apparently is in Amarillo, which, by the way, I'd have to look up the size of the appellate court. But I think a lot of the judges with the appellate court were actually Texas Tech law guys.
Yeah.
Which should make it interesting when they go on appeal.
I haven't seen anything. So I haven't seen anything that the NCAA is going to appeal. Let's see. Later Monday, the NCAA formally filed an appeal in Lubbock County, Texas. So it sounds like they're going to try to go back after this. Look, I'm amazed by this because, again, I keep going back to what the main thing is. You can't bet on your team while you're part of it. I feel like that's
Why
a
not?
pretty simple, cut and dry thing.
Who says?
That was part of I believe that was part of the Pro. He had the app on his phone. It had called ProHibet, and it was part of the issue that when you sign up for that, you're not allowed to bet on your team as per the, what am I going to say, commission? Excuse me, conference rules. When you're part of it.
Apparently that's not binding in court.
Right. That to me
Okay.
is.
Well, the NCAA is not the law of the land.
Right, but this, okay.
And every time they get challenged, like, there's no wake-up call. What you do generally is illegal to your laborers and your talent.
So then this is probably a question for Justin.
Of course it is.
Because then why is it that we had the Iowa wrestlers get banned for their own gambling transactions?
Because they didn't challenge it. If they had challenged it, then they probably would have gotten an injunction, and they may have been able to wrestle. Same as, what was the kid, Deckers? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The quarterback, the 6'7" quarterback. Now, there's also the case that, hey, every state's a little bit different. My biggest issue with all this, and I know fans, and then I think the media people who are reacting to this, you're idiots. Put yourself in the same position. If some arbitrary ruling comes down and it doesn't follow the letter of the law, you're going to take away my livelihood? And guess what? It is a livelihood now. I don't want to hear that, you got the education. That's worth a ton. No, he's worth $5 million. This governing body has no legal power. And that is the problem. Every time these things come up, these are illegal practices with laborers and talent. And you may not want to hear this, but if you were in the same pickle in our audience, in your line of work, and there was some arbitrary rule that came down that was prohibiting you from doing your job, of course you're going to fight it. And the easiest way to take care of all of this is to negotiate these agreements with the players.
Right.
But they don't want to do that. It's like, who said it the other day? Basically making reference to getting your bite of the cookie. Here's what they want. What college football and college basketball, what the overlords want, is that there's no more cookie for the players. It's pretty simple legal analysis.
Right.
We're going to come up with a system. There's no more cookie for you guys, the players. Oh, but we're going to still freaking chomp away at the cookie. No. If I don't get the cookie, no one gets the cookie, which kind of brings up what I talked about last week. Because what we're talking about here is they want a cap, John.
Right.
They want a cap. That's what college football bosses want. They want a cap on what athletes can get. Okay. Then that cap applies to the coaches. Then the highest paid coach is $3 million a year. I don't care if you're Dabo Swinney and you're making 13. You get 3. And even better, your coaches have a cap. The salary pool for the coaches is like $5 million. Why don't we talk about what the coaches make? That is out of control. They're actually state contracted employees with no cap, no reason. You see what they're doing where they have these buyouts. Where's all that money coming from?
Sure.
The system is completely broken. And yeah, it might piss you off that Texas Tech and Sorsby are going at the system to challenge it, but this is what needs to be done. It needs to get to the point of being completely ridiculous where the only option that the college football bosses have is to bring in the players, their employees. And then guess what? When you're an employee and you go to challenge in court, most courts will be like, hey, you negotiated this. We don't get involved in labor disputes. If it's been negotiated, you take care of it. And none of this court stuff would happen again. But they won't make the final step to admit what they are.
Okay, so here's my question then. And again, maybe it's another one for Justin. How can so the ruling is saying, like you said, arbitrary thing, the committee comes down, the NCAA, and says, you can't do that, you're suspended. Court ruling injunction says, you can't do that, taking away from his livelihood. Then why is he suspended for 2 games? The suspension for 2 games says, right? The suspension for 2 games is a punishment.
I would
what
challenge
is the
that.
Punishment for?
I would challenge that.
Right. Because if you're,
I'm getting an I'm playing every game.
Right. If
I'm not sitting out.
Yeah.
The judge said I'm playing.
You said you're telling me with this injunction that what they're telling me is incorrect. So why do I have to serve any punishments whatsoever? That seems like that does not make sense.
And a great example, and you can find them especially recently in the NFL. There have been suspensions. There have been drug test suspensions where players have taken the NFL to court, and generally the court is like, we're out.
Yeah.
Collectively bargained. These are the rules. You guys agreed to the rules.
Right.
But NCAA players don't have that right. So The NCAA and the universities are getting exactly what they deserve. It is complete upheaval and chaos because this is the system they had put together in heavy-handed fashion and never asked anyone what their input was. So now you're getting input. It's all illegal. All illegal. I love it. But I did like your point earlier that Sorsby is back up on the Heisman board at 18-1. He has no shot to win.
No, they're not.
You can already see it. I mean, I don't know if all these people vote, but like Scott Van Pelt, Pat Forty, Ian Fitzsimmons. I forgot. I bookmarked a couple other people who were just like, there's no rules. You're right. There are no rules because there's no one who can actually enforce the rules, and they can't explain the rules.
They're not going to touch them. You already had.
But that does not fall under any heading.
No,
like,
of course.
He's not going to sue the Heisman voters because they're not voting for him.
No,
so
but
he has no shot to win the Heisman.
You're also already seeing Todd Monken last week with his comments like, slippery slope when he was up for potentially going to the supplemental draft. Like, slippery slope. We can't really. We can't do that.
Yeah, it's something to consider.
People are going to hold this against him.
It sounds now like there's no supplemental draft because, which the NCAA better watch itself on that one. If this court challenge goes to the appellate court and they make a decision, it's a month from now. So what happens then if the NFL's like, nope, no supplemental draft? This kid's like, I'm owed $5 million. I'm getting it.
It's going to be worse for the NCAA. Yeah.
So I love this. I know people don't like chaos. I know people are used to, the players having the thumb on them. It's not the way it works, man. I admire this kid. Now, listen, I don't know what his gambling addiction is. He knew he was breaking rules because, man, he went out of the way to make sure he get his money down. But your rules suck. And you don't discuss them, you don't negotiate them, so this is what you get. Now you get the sport that's completely out of control, chaotic, as I keep using the word upheaval. On the way back, I'll get you that Raleigh note, a little olive branch extended.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
A's baseball coming up at LV Ballpark. 7 o'clock. Coverage starting on 12:30 the game. Sorry, sir. 12:30 the game at 6:30. 6-game series. Rockies next up, but Brewers in town. And Kyle Harrison, who's been a freaking monster, is on the mound for the Brewers. Going against Jeffrey Springs. Ginn goes in game number 2, and then this is one of the reasons with the A's I've talked about they're going to have to augment a little bit. They're going to have to get some starting pitching. They just bumped up Lynn to AAA, but he's still a developmental guy, but had a really good run at AA. So they're going to have to go out and get some veteran pitching to help out with the starters. Gage Jump is up, but Luis Severino, is down, and that could be a while. So at the Stanley Cup, I mentioned the olive branch, and this is an olive branch that's extended by someone on Twitter. I like it. And it really has to do with the collective experience of being a Vegas hockey club and a Raleigh, North Carolina hockey club. And that is, while North America has picked VGK as the enemy, it could just as easily be Carolina because there's a jealousy with these relatively new franchises that don't play in traditional cold weather hockey markets where people hate us. This annoys the hell out of them. Places like Toronto haven't won since 1967. The nation of Canada hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1993, and someone sent out a tweet and they said, hey, if we can have a brief olive branch moment with VGK and their fans, for all the salty original six and traditional market fans acting like they care about TV ratings and continuing this gatekeeping BS that has kept people away from the game, Vegas and Carolina have done more to grow the sport in a week than they have in years. I don't know about that, but this person said, great hockey, great atmospheres, and intriguing storylines on both sides. This has been a ratings bonanza.
Sure.
It's killing it.
Yeah.
Because they're two good teams, and the hockey games have actually been really exciting. And both teams have gone out over the years and collected stars from these other places that either didn't want them or had cheap-ass owners.
I mean, look, this is the obvious answer because they're here now, but ask me how much hockey I watched before Vegas got a team. And then now ask me how much I've watched here. I mean, you've seen it. We've talked about it. I'm on naturalstattrick.com looking at shifts and what they're doing at even strength, and I understand what expected goals for means and all these sort of things, and Corsi for percentage, and really enjoying the game and people outside of it. I always use her as a barometer because it's just how we always do it. My mom. What's the Knights game on today? Did you see the Knights yesterday? My mom. She barely knows that they play on ice.
Yeah.
And she's watching and paying attention and asking what's going on to the point of growing the game. That's the whole point. You're getting more eyes and more people on it that care about it, and it's growing from outside of the market.
I've never thought about buying a VGK hockey jersey.
Sweater.
A sweater.
Thank you.
A sweater. Because we don't have a lot of sweater weather here. But and I'm cheap. And I'm cheap. They're expensive. I've seen all these jerseys around. A lady at that concert I was at on Saturday night had I think a black one with just Vegas.
Yeah.
I was like, that one's pretty good.
Yep.
So, over the 9 years, it has changed this market. And I don't know if this place is a place that traditionally has been kind of disjointed. I think to a certain extent, though. I mean, you know this. And maybe it was different for you growing up, being around, kids your age. But, a lot of people have the experience that when they go home, man, they just go in the house and that's it. You don't really talk to your neighbors. Get in, close the garage, get the hell out of here, And I think it has actually opened things up around Vegas where more people go out, more people will come to, places like this and do watch parties. We really didn't have that, 10, 15 years ago. We had it 40 years ago,
sure.
35 years ago with the Rebels, but there's been a void until the Knights came along. And here's the thing. You got to win.
Yeah.
Like the Raiders could have this 15 years from now, but they got to win.
To your point, I'll still remember last year, you know me, I'm a big a big Clippers fan. Clippers-Nuggets is going down. It's game 3 or 4 of the series, the one where Aaron Gordon has the putback dunk to win it right at the buzzer. So I go to a local bar to watch the game. Every single television in the place had the Knights on.
Yep.
And when I asked for one to get switched to an NBA playoff game, you should have seen the looks that I had to play poker in the corner like a recluse.
Hockey rules this market until 2028 when the NBA comes.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, another big sports week here in Las Vegas. How things have changed over 25 years. We've got live music behind us. You can barely hear it. Frankie's Uptown, downtown Summerlin. We can walk, a few thousand feet and watch Major League Baseball at downtown Summerlin with the A's here in town to take on the Brewers. Tomorrow, down on the Strip, another game in the Stanley Cup Final, which will be amazing. And the fact that the story's unfolding is pretty incredible. David Alter is a guy who's covered hockey for a long time. Hockey News is up with John and Cofield here on this Monday. David, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. It sounds like you're having even better time than I am over there.
Well, we always have a good time in Vegas, but now so much of it is built around sports. And I just wanted to get your view on what the Knights are doing here, just in general, just a 9-year and a third Stanley Cup Final. It just shrieks of organizationally this group has it going on.
Yeah, they do. Look, everything worked out perfectly from the get-go for them, right? So they come in, they become the NHL's 31st franchise. They were the testing case for a more lax expansion, in the big 4 major sports. Expansion meant you got next to nothing, where the protection lists were a lot more loose. They were able to hire people within the organization who could exploit and make some really good deals to take on some cap issues for other teams. And all those deals worked out perfectly to the point they go to the Stanley Cup Final in their first year. So right away, with all the other things about being in a warmer climate, the no state income tax, the vibes around here, and going and having that success, there's no better recruiting tool. So they've just been a perennial contender and a destination for a lot of NHLers, and it's no surprise, given that they're in the Cup Final for the third time in 9 years.
And along those lines, you get stories like Mitch Marner, who comes along and is doing what he's been doing here. What have you made of his explosion as a player, especially in this postseason?
Yeah, it's interesting to see, right? Because, he's with Toronto, which is the Fishbowl. It's where I'm based out of. So I got to know a lot about Mitch in my home market. And, there is the pressure cooker. There was the lack of playoff success, but, he really was asked to do a lot in that market, where now he's here. He's already got a support staff of some really great, elite, talented players, Mark Stone, Jack Eichel, just to name a couple. And he's able to kind of find his groove. He was able to not necessarily wilt in the first 3 quarters of the season when he was kind of bouncing around the lineup trying to find whether he should be a center or winger. But under John Tortorella, since he's come in, he's found the way to allow Mitch to be Mitch and only think about the hockey stuff. And as a result of that, you're seeing the benefits of it. And he just looks like a way more calm, relaxed, free-flowing player out there.
So the Athletic today released a piece about the Conn Smythe and the race for this thing at this point. I wanted to read a quick excerpt to you and see if you agree with this. It says, the challenge isn't finding reasons Marner should win the Conn Smythe. It's finding reasons why somebody else might become the playoff MVP, even if Carolina comes back and wins its second Stanley Cup in 20 years. Could he win this thing even if they lose the series?
So it's funny, like we were actually looking at that today in terms of, I don't have a vote, but about 23 writers will vote for the Conn Smythe. And, once you start getting to elimination games after potentially game 5, if it goes the way it goes in one direction, you have to start submitting your ballots. And he's just such a runaway leader in points right now, where I call Carolina's uniform, like the attack a uniform. It's not that they don't have depth, but they don't have the star power that no one's really running away with it in terms of an individualistic performance on the Carolina Hurricanes. Like you could argue maybe Frederik Andersen, but then he has the game he has. He's given up multiple goals. It's kind of hard to give it to the winning goalie in that situation. So there's a conceivable situation where even if Vegas loses in 6 games, he could still be the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. He's the only one paying out not in the plus, in the minus, right? Like I think I saw he's like a minus 200. Everyone else is a plus right now. And it's because he's such a runaway leader in terms of points. Like everyone is, I think the next guy is like 8 points below him. So it's really tough to kind of give it to Carolina just because there isn't an unsung hero on the Canes. It's really just a spread out attack of why the Canes would beat the Golden Knights at this point.
Find him up at Twitter at David Alter. He works for the Hockey News. I'm going to go back to the Marner point and Toronto and the split. I've been kind of raging the last couple of weeks about some of the treatment some Toronto fans and some Toronto media have given Marner, to the point where Marner mentions having dark days, and I feel like the vibe is like, really? Are you sure? We don't believe you. Is that the vibe you get? Is that a minority? Because I feel this energy coming. Like if the guy told you he was miserable, you know about the experience. Like why are you mad at him?
I think in Toronto, look, Toronto's a really tough market to play in, and it's not for everybody. And I think being born and raised there, it wasn't necessarily the pressure and the media and all that other stuff. It's a lot of the pressure that comes from within, like within the family and all that stuff, and the pressure he puts on himself. And then, there were the situations where he got doxxed, like someone on Twitter posted his home address. Like that's just stuff that wouldn't happen anywhere else, doesn't happen any other player. He could be alluding to that. We don't know. He says he's going to say exactly what he means by that if they hoist the cup at the end of this. But it was rough for him. Like he was a very polarizing figure. The fact of the matter is, I don't know if it's just that he's so many miles away and that, he doesn't have the same distractions, which can be a thing, but the job didn't get done in Toronto despite how dynamic a player he really is. And so now he's doing it here. The pressure, it's not that it's off, but it's different. The expectations are maybe different because there are so many star names on this Vegas team and a history of already doing it that it's a different vibe in that respect. So it was polarizing for Mitch Marner. A lot of people really miss him. A lot of people were upset that they didn't get anything for him, that he walked out on his own, that outside of Nick Waugh, which was just kind of like an anti-tampering move to kind of make that case go away. The Leaf fans didn't really get anything for him for a homegrown guy who just walked completely in his right to do it. But it's more like a frustration with management that if they felt that this was the case, that 2 years prior, they probably should have exercised some sort of control in making that move maybe a bit earlier. And some of that frustration, rightly or wrongly, mostly wrongly, is directed at Mitch.
That has worked against Frederik Andersen to the point where, he gets pulled in the last game. But this is a guy coming in 13 playoff games and giving up 20 total goals.
Yeah, you look, Freddie's been like when he played in Toronto, he had that nickname of Steady Freddie. Like he's a very positionally sound goaltender. What's happened in some cases where the numbers are kind of deceiving is some of the types of goals he lets in are where you kind of get frustrated on your team, like, oh, we needed a save there. It's a timely save. That's always been the issue. That's kind of carried along with Frederik Andersen's career, like when it was in Toronto and even before that with Anaheim. He's had postseason success. He sticks to his system, and it's been very successful for him. But I'm looking at, even last 2 nights ago, I forget, it's 2 days ago, game 3, the one that was waved off early, that just squeaks right through the wickets. Like, he's lucky it gets called back, but those are the type of goals, I don't know. I see Bussy kind of come back in, and there was one that kind of got through him, but he was able to spread eagle and make sure it doesn't get through him. And so that's why I think it's such a difficult decision for Carolina as to what they do for the starter of Game 4, which they say they've made up their mind, but they're not sharing what that is. So Anderson's been steady. He gets you some success, but sometimes the only knock on him is the timing of the saves when you feel like you need one is where you don't get it sometimes, and that's why you see some of the games that he does have.
What have you made of the struggles of the top line for Carolina throughout this postseason with Aho out there, and what do you think the problem's been?
I think it's the matchups. I think, look, the way Carolina plays, which is a very shot-heavy, very north game, it dictates that if you're going to get the puck on the net, you really have to know how to be dynamic enough to stretch out the defense. And they haven't really done that well against Vegas. And even against Ottawa, they kind of struggled with it, but eventually were able to kind of plow through, and they were getting really solid goaltending from Frederik Andersen as well, like perhaps his best ever. Like, you look at their path, they haven't really had to be that dynamic. Now they have the biggest challenge, and guys like Aho and Svechnikov are just not lighting the lamp, and you can tell Rob Brindamore is now starting to get a little bit frustrated with it. I think he's patient when you have the results, but in times where your A game's not working, you need your B game to go, and sometimes that's the stars taking over the game, and that's just not happening with guys like Aho and Svechnikov. So at some point, I think they're expecting if Carolina is going to get back into this, there'll be a regression to the mean. The pass Aho did make for the second goal was incredible. So, like, I think there was some optimism that was kind of bred out of that, but they need to see more of it. Also, they had a really good first overtime. I thought that line did. And so I'm wondering if they can carry any of that momentum despite losing into Game 4 rather, here in Vegas.
At the risk of ruffling feathers here in our market, I feel like I should ask this question. Why aren't we talking about Carter Hart like we're talking about Frederik Andersen in this series?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a polarizing situation. Like, regardless of your beliefs or whatever, the Vegas Golden Knights went with Carter Hart. He's proven them right so far in terms of the results on the ice and getting the goaltending. And I think the only reason we're talking about Andersen and not Hart, even though Hart gave up as many goals as he did, is because they didn't fall behind. It was a 4-0 lead. It went 4-4. They ended up winning the game. It's usually a win in your in-type situation, even if you haven't been at your best. And Vegas hasn't really had an appetite to kind of make that switch and go with Adin Hill instead. And so Bussy was just so dynamically good in relief. And the way the Canes played after, regardless of if it was because Bussy was in net or just the change gave him a kick in the butt, it's kind of hard to know what's what. But that's what makes that conversation the way it was, because it's 18 saves on 19 shots. A lot of them were very difficult, a lot of acrobatic saves. They are a very different style of goaltender, Bussy and Andersen, and I wonder how much that plays with the guys in front as well. So that's why I think that makes it a call where Adin Hill hasn't really showed you anything to kind of suggest that he should go over Carter Hart. And Carter Hart's been solid. When the games are in Carolina, you certainly hear the boos, but here you definitely hear a lot of the support for him. And on the ice, he's backed that up, that's for sure.
David, we appreciate it. Really good spot, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
You got to enjoy the vibes outside the ballpark there.
We will. There he is. David Alter, Hockey News. Good setup here as we got another 35 minutes on the way before we hand it off to the NBA call. Game 3 in the finals, Knicks and the Spurs. New York up 2-0. When we come back, we'll start breaking down the Knicks and Spurs. Also have a good conversation with one of the voices of the A's, Johnny D. But I want to remind you, game tomorrow night for the Golden Knights. Great spot in town to watch it. One of our big sponsors for the Stanley Cup Final is Jackson Bar and Grill, 6020 West Flamingo. That's Flamingo and Jones, home of the $22 steak, best value steak in Vegas. In fact, Tasting Table named it a top 7 steak in the country, under $30. Great gaming specials, including Pass the Puck and Slap Shot, where you can win up to $775 in free play. Jackson's Bar and Grill, Flamingo and Jones.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, back here on this Monday. Cofield and Company. Thanks for the water, Ray. Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas, hanging out downtown Summerlin at Frankie's Uptown. Walk right across the street to watch some A's baseball tonight. A's are taking on the Brewers. First of a 3-game series, and then that'll be backed up by another 3-game series against the Rockies. And they better sweep the Rockies. Brewers, pretty tough. It's a good team. It's a very good team.
Might be a home away from home for the Rockies.
We'll get to a little more baseball. In terms of what, launching pad?
Yeah.
Feeling like they're playing at elevation. I mean, we do have some elevation here, but when you add a little bit up the hill in Summerlin to potentially the wind, could go either way.
The jet stream, as they call it.
You don't live that far from me. Do you feel the wind where you are?
I mean, yeah.
Because I live on a park,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like a swirling effect that happens. And I swear, like all summer, we're like, again, first world problem, right?
Sure.
So we look forward to every Sunday. We have some time off. We're like, hey, let's hang at the pool. And like, we really hang at the pool. I didn't get a pool not to use it. I go on a whole rant. I think a lot of people just have the pool and then they never use it.
Just say they have a
my,
pool? Yeah.
My pool guy all the time is like, well, you guys really use your pool? Like, well, are we supposed to? Like, paying for it. But we're like so worked up every weekend. We're like, what's going on with the wind? What's going on with the wind? So we get that swirling effect. I feel like as you go to the edges of the valley, it is windier. That might not be factual.
Sure.
I remember a time living in Green Valley up at the top of Horizon Ridge, which, again, in the Wayback Machine, when I lived there, you should have seen it up there. There was nothing. Like, apartment complex, nothing.
Yeah.
And now you drive up Green Valley Parkway, Horizon Ridge, you look to your left, and you're like, how many houses are they going to put on this hill led by the Mark Davis Death Star? And it was windy up there. So my whole long-winded, windy story is that if this place across the street, the wind's blowing out, because as you sit, it's pretty good.
It looks pretty windy.
I mean, you were there last week, right?
Yeah.
When you look out, if you haven't been to LV Ballpark, well, left field has City National behind it.
Yep.
You get a little blockage. Right field, like center to right, I mean, it is like a freaking straight shoot and nothing to guard it because there's some condos off in the distance. So if the wind's blowing out, the wind is blowing out.
Yep. Well, and as Neverett said, there's a sneaky jet stream down that third base line, too. It's just a little sliver of it. So if you pull it that way, then it could go, too. So there's a couple of spots. Total's 11. And we should be noted, both guys pitching today are fly ball pitchers. So this is going to be one where you're going to get some balls in the air, and whether or not those carry is going to be pretty fascinating.
So 12:30 the game will have the A's game tonight against the Brewers. 6:30 with the coverage. I was going to break into song there, but I won't do it. We have the NBA Finals game number 3 here on ESPN Las Vegas. And then tomorrow, remember, Ryan the Hockey Guy starts off your hockey day. Things will kick off with pregame coverage of Game 4 at 4 o'clock. ESPN Las Vegas will have the Brewers and the A's. Again, coverage there starting at 6:30. All right, so I haven't had a chance to talk to you since the Knicks got out to this 2-0 start. And both games were winnable. And I'm not going to sit here and say I knew what was going to happen or I knew the way it would happen. But one of the things I feared going into the series was how loose San Antonio plays with the ball, and especially at guard.
Sure.
Now, if you actually look at the overall turnover numbers, I don't think they're super high, but it's when the turnovers are happening. Game 2. What are we doing? First of all, see, I don't want to analyze Wemby as if we've never seen him before. Are you finding that to be the case? Like, people are flipping out and they're like, he's shooting from 3, he's taking 16-footers, he's trying crossover dribbles at the three-point line. Yeah, that's what he does. But under the microscope, they're like, 7-4, stop. And especially when it doesn't work and it leads to mistakes, and people are like, big man, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Get him inside. But this is how he's excelled all year.
Go back to Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. He took 1 3-point attempt. That was the outlier. That was the game that you never really see him have, which is attacking small guys inside and using his size the way that he was. No, this has been his game. I'm really interested because your point about the turnovers and just when they happen.
Yep.
I mean, you wonder if especially that last one, because one of the big ones, and for those who don't remember, on a play in transition going back the other way in a tie game, Victor Wembanyama tries to throw an outlet pass to Stephon Castle, who is not looking at all. Just hits him in the backside, and Jalen Brunson grabs it.
He was looking. Castle was looking back, and then he decided, I guess, hey, Wemby's got it. But, like,
that's also a tough angle for the pass.
That's one of those, though, from a fundamental standpoint. And this is why Castle's kind of a point guard, but not really a point guard. Bro, you got to get – listen, I know the guy is otherworldly for his size.
He does bring the ball up, though.
I know, but in that kind of pressurized situation, what do point guards do?
Right.
I mean, you know, everyone's played enough basketball. If you play point guard, most of the time you're like, you know, bro, you run up to someone like, give me the ball. I'm the leader. You got to go get the ball. And then, he turned, and Wemby throws it off his back. And that happened in Game 1. I thought Harper had a bad turnover.
Yep.
Funny thing is, Harper and Castle only had 3 turnovers combined. But 2 of the 3 came in the last 2 minutes at, like, the worst times. And then, like I said, Wemby's out on the perimeter. Probably with, like, 2 minutes left, minute and a half left. He's trying to cross over. It's like,
well, it's the inexperience. You also wonder if it's some sort of mental fatigue and the fatigue in general. He's playing more minutes than he's ever played in his entire life, Victor Wembanyama. Games, minutes. Remember, the regular season, he played less than 30 minutes a game. In the last 8-9 games, he's averaging like 40. So that's another big thing, too. I mean, he's adding essentially an extra game every few contests just because he had not played that many minutes in the regular season before. But I think you give the Knicks credit, man. Like, they're a very good team. And sometimes, like, to use an MMA cliche, styles make fights. And sometimes you just match up in the NBA. If you match up with the team really well and they don't have the levers to pull, dude, it's a really big problem. And I think that's one of the problems the Spurs are facing right now.
Did you see the matchup with Cat being so good for the Knicks against Wemby?
I have him at 22-1 to win the finals.
Okay.
Or to win the finals MVP.
I love that because I don't know what it was. Who was? I don't even know who was on Freddie's show today. I don't think Harry and Freddie were on. Whatever. But I heard someone say, like, after 11 years, this is a real coming out party for Karl Anthony Towns, and I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not.
He's been a really good level player.
Yeah.
People got down on him, like out of control down on him last year in the playoffs because they had to blame someone, so they blamed Cat. He's a really good player, and I guess I didn't process it because I got fooled into thinking, hey, the way OKC is playing Wemby with all smalls, that's the way it's going to be. But Cat can do it.
I mean, so trust me. I thought he was going to have a good series. My whole logic, too, was, look, if they're going to win this series, which I thought they could and would, if you remember, mine was Knicks in 7, Karl Anthony Towns had to have a good series. So at 22-1, like, that makes some sense that you would just play that from the number standpoint. But remember, the original thought was, and we talked about this last week before the series started, it was supposed to be OG Anunoby playing Victor Wembanyama. It was supposed to be him guarding him. And yet, Karl Anthony Towns has played so freaking well on both sides that they haven't had to go to OG Anunoby to play him. And there's been a couple of things here and there, and obviously you're going to guard guys throughout the course of a game just because of the way the games flow. And OG Anunoby and the Knicks, dude, they've been so good at getting really physical with Victor Wembanyama. There are no free rolls to the basket. Every time he runs a pick and tries to roll to the basket, he's meeting a body, whether it's Brunson or Anunoby. Fred Katz wrote a great piece about how OG Anunoby, he's not going over or under screens in this series. He's going through them. So every time Victor Wembanyama sets a screen on him, he pushes right through him. Yes, and OG Anunoby's 6'7" and like 240, 250. That is a big dude that is just ramming into Wembanyama all the time. And then Karl-Anthony Towns with the best moment of the postseason, where at the end of the first half when he gets that bucket and he's running off the court screaming, "He can't F with me," talking about Victor Wembanyama as they're running into the locker room. Cat's been awesome. Absolutely fantastic.
If they win 2 more games, the Knicks, and sweep the series, is that 15 in a row?
Yes, they're at 13-0 right now, and I believe that would be 15. Yeah.
Holy moly!
One of the best runs you're ever going to see.
Who saw this coming? And again, there might be someone. That's why I make sure I never come on the air and I'm like, no one said this. Someone may have said it.
Nobody.
So just because we were wrong or you were wrong, well, you weren't wrong. Parles wasn't wrong. Willie wasn't wrong so far. You guys had the Knicks in 6 or 7. I had the Spurs.
I guess
6.
we were wrong because they might sweep them.
But you still get credit for when you're taking a dog, whatever they were,
right.
Plus 155 dog, and even like 2 weeks out, if you get a look ahead line, they were like plus 195. If you take a dog and they win the series, you don't have to get it right. The sweep, that's ridiculous. Those are outrageous standards. You nailed it so far.
I will say, to the point of Karl-Anthony Towns, because the media, Steve, the dirty media, is starting.
All different parts of the media.
They're trying.
No broad stroke. We're all different.
No, I am.
Don't lump me in with everyone else.
Media's trying to paint the narrative in favor of Jalen Brunson for Finals MVP. I want to warn our Las Vegas community right now.
I mean,
if Karl-Anthony Towns does not win Finals MVP and they win the series, I will commit a crime. In our city, I don't know what the crime is yet. I will commit a crime.
How serious are we talking about?
I'm going to look through the laws still.
Some petty theft?
Yeah, that's what the first thought was.
Like a convenience store, steal a candy bar?
I might steal that water cooler right there, that little water bucket right there, whatever that is. I might steal it.
Well, if you steal a Stanley, that actually is a felony.
Is it really?
They're so expensive, yes. No, of course not.
Oh, okay. I was like, did it really meet the price tag? I was like,
I think a felony charge is like over $400. So
oh, okay, cool.
They're expensive. That one might be $70.
All right, so that lady might want to watch out. She might want to hope that Karl-Anthony Towns wins Finals MVP. Or she's going to be out of Stanley.
You should do it at Frankie's Uptown. I don't recommend anyone else does this. This is a joke, but dine and dash.
Oh,
actually, you should do something in the tradition of one of our favorite coworkers of all time. By the way, salesperson Ray is paying for the meal, so you're covered. So he's going to dash.
I am going to dine and dash.
Yeah. But what you should do, it's in the true tradition of Lotus Broadcasting with the sports department. You
punch a whiteboard.
You get a meal, and then you get another meal to take home.
Oh yeah,
that was a trick forever. Is our good friend Seat would get the meal and then get a doggy bag with a fresh meal to take home. Why not? It's on Ray.
So
salesperson Ray.
Speaking of doggy bags, Jalen Brunson's game so far has been a hound's breakfast. It's been slop. It's not been good. He has 50 points on 56 shots in this series so far. He hasn't been good, but
you know the deal.
He scored some fourth quarter buckets, closed the game out, had a good one against Wemby.
It feels like he's scoring all the fourth quarter key
points,
buckets, but it hasn't been efficient.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, Karl-Anthony Towns better win this thing. I'll fight somebody.
Well, he's got to continue it. Well, and if he makes Wemby play inefficiently for 2 or 3 more games, then he's got a good shot.
The NBA's golden child, just kicking his ass up and down the floor.
But you're right. What if Brunson is averaging 27, 32 points a game, even though he can't?
33% shooting from the floor?
Yeah,
That's what he's shooting right now.
I'm not going to rip NBA voters or whoever votes.
I will. It goes back. I will tell you this. I am always burned by this. Eastern Conference Finals, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, where the Miami Heat went on to lose to the Denver Nuggets. Caleb Martin had an incredible series. And in Game 7, Reggie Miller, on the broadcast, after Caleb Martin hits a bucket in the fourth quarter, Steve, he says on the broadcast, "Ladies and gentlemen, there's your MVP, Caleb Martin." And then the voting comes out. You know who Reggie Miller voted for? He voted for Jimmy Butler. He called him the MVP, and then he voted for Jimmy Butler. I hate these voters. And unlike the Conn Smythe, there's only 9 of them, if I believe. 9 or 7. I can't remember which.
Did Reggie forget? Or not have the gumption to do it?
Oh, he didn't have the gumption. No shot. Maybe a little column A, column B.
Let's get ready for the A's game tonight. 5:30 start for the NBA right here on ESPN Las Vegas. But a little while ago, before he headed over to LVB to call the game, he's one of the radio analysts, radio play-by-play guys for the A's. Johnny D and I had a conversation at Frankie's Uptown, and we just talked about how cool this whole thing is with the A's. Major League Baseball right here in Vegas.
Phenomenal. I love the fact we're right across the street too, and it's just look. I have a lot of experience at this ballpark. I've been broadcasted with the River Cats for so long. We came here to play the Las Vegas Aviators, but I'm telling you, it's just to think about what's to come in the ballpark, the new stadium, and everything, and to think about the excitement and just the energy. And you've been in this business a long time in this market. People are they're sports crazy around here, so I think they're excited for the baseball, and this is just kind of a preview and kind of a tease for what's to come in 2028.
Have the players, or have you talked to the players about what it's going to be like to have a home? Because this nomadic thing, it can get old and it's difficult.
It is. Not really. I think the players are so in the moment. The players are thinking about the next day. They don't. You think about 2028. For us, it's not that far out. For players, they're not really thinking about. I think they're more thinking about how do we win a game tomorrow, right? How do we find a way to compete for a playoff spot? How do we find a way to compete for a championship? So I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. I don't think guys are thinking about it too much, but I think generally they're pretty excited. I mean, when you think about the Soderstroms and the Wilsons and the Rookers and the Butlers, guys that sign these extensions, they sign those extensions with the understanding they're going to be playing in Las Vegas. So yeah, I think guys are pretty excited, but I think guys do pretty much stay in the moment as far as what they want to accomplish.
But it is true for the back end of the roster because they kind of are week to week, month to month. You're just trying to make the majors a lot of times. We just saw Kuhn will get DFA'd and traded. So a lot of the guys, you're just trying to make it, especially a young team.
No doubt. Just trying to make it, trying to find a way to scrap and claw, keep that uniform on. And you're right. Look, it's a tough business. There are no guarantees in this business at all, especially with relievers, right? It's such a volatile position to be in, because you could have a great year one year and next year you're DFA'd. So it's really, guys are trying to, but I do think there is a camaraderie, and I know we say that a lot with teams, but there is a chemistry and a camaraderie with this club that they're kind of all together. The bullpen doesn't really have specific roles, so these guys kind of working together to try to make it and try to succeed and win ball games.
Johnny D's with us with Cofield and company here at Frankie's Uptown as we're getting ready for the first of this double series here in Las Vegas. Well, one of the exciting things is we got a little bit of a look at Gates' jump. I mean, he's come out of the gates here. Yeah. The first start was okay. The last two, he's got scoreless outings. What have you seen from him in terms of growth?
Oh, man, the stuff is incredible. I mean, just 97, 98, and great off-speed stuff, outstanding changeup, great slider. He's just fun to watch, and he has that competitive nature, after the first game. After the second game that he had where he went 7 innings allowed, 3 hits and a run, he was disappointed in his performance. And Kotze said, look, man, this is the big leagues. You got to be, when you have positive things happen, you got to stay positive with it. So Kotze did such a great job with that and kind of getting out in front of that and saying, look, we know you want to be the best version of yourself. We know that you expect more from yourself than anybody else can ever expect from you. But at the same time, you got to appreciate the great moments and give yourself some credit for those positive moments. He's incredible. He really is. He's going to be really good.
So let's talk about the last couple of weeks. The team got out to I think it was 27-24 start, and it sputtered a little bit. And some of it has been because of the bullpen ailing, hitting down a little bit. What do you see the last couple of weeks that they need to kind of shore up and turn the corner to get back to more solid winning ways?
Yeah, I think the offensive core, 65 games in, I really don't think the offensive core has hit their stride yet. I just don't think as a group with these guys, I'm excited for the time that 4, 5, 6 of these guys start hitting at the same time. We're getting Jacob Wilson back soon. That's going to help a lot. I do think the slide did kind of correspond, and there's no knock to Hernandez or Alika Williams or anybody, but the slide did kind of correspond with Jacob going down. And, Muncie's coming back soon. Gelof's done a great job at third base. And I just think that getting Wilson back changes the dynamic of that lineup, right? He makes great contact, takes pitch the other way. He's a guy that just changes that lineup. So I think that when he comes back, I do think they're going to have a 2-3 week stretch, 4 week stretch where they just they pound the ball. It's going to happen.
Johnny D's with us here on Cofield and Company as we're getting ready for the A's series in town here in Las Vegas and downtown Summerlin. So I was really encouraged by what they did in the offseason because I think the worry was, hey, is this going to be an organization that keeps its guys around? Now with the stadium, now with an influx of money coming in, I mean, they made some clear signs. Yep. Hey, we want to sign our young guys. We're going to do it early.
Absolutely, and what a message that sends, not only to just from the organization, but to the players, right? The players, like, if you perform, you want to be here, you're going to get extended, and I think that just having the core 4 guys get extended, we'll see about Langoliers, see about Kurtz, but I'm telling you, it's pretty exciting when you consider these guys are being extended through Vegas, through the first 2, 3, 4 years of Vegas, and I couldn't be more excited for this core group, and also the great guys too, right? They represent the organization, they'll represent the city well. So we've been fortunate. David Forrest and the whole group has done a great job in putting together a good group of human beings as well as good ball players.
Why is Kurt so good?
He's he's a generational player. His idea, the zone, the way it's funny, we joke because with the ABS, he's right almost every time. His idea, the zone, his ability to understand how to control that strike zone is like no other. That's why I think he's a generational player. I think he's a triple crown. I think a triple crown's in his future. I really do. And I've said that publicly. I've said it privately. I think he's going to win a triple crown because he's not only a power hitter, he's a pure hitter. And he walks. He takes his walks. He's a team guy. He doesn't like all the attention, but he's a guy that really is going to be, when it's all said and done, be one of the best players from our generation.
When they were scouting him, do you think they saw all this?
Well, I think they saw potential to be a great player. I don't know if anybody knew he would be this great. Maybe they did. I think Billy Owens, director of player personnel with the A's, I think he believed that, and I think many of the A's front office believed he would be this great. But this guy is going to be like one of the great ones of all time. I really believe that.
Johnny D's with us. I mean, think about that 2024 draft with Kurtz on down to Tommy Tanks, then Jump. Then JKG is playing here. I mean, what if they get 4 good major league players out of the top 75 in one draft?
It says so much about Eric Kubota and the whole scouting. What the A's do with their scouting and everything they do with their baseball ops. They're just so good. They're so good at drafting. They're so good at understanding who will fit into the system. I think it's just a credit to what David Forrest and everybody's doing up there.
Give the audience a look ahead on this Brewers series. Pretty good team, the Brewers. Every year, a good organization.
They really are. They're tough, and the pitching's really good. I mean, Kyle Harrison, we miss Mizorowski, which is great, but Kyle Harrison is something else. The Giants, he was an untouchable with the Giants for a while, right? And now he's a guy that he's having a Cy, he's going to be in the Cy Young conversation.
I don't get this one, Johnny, at all. He goes to the Red Sox, a big piece of a trade. And then they move him for Caleb Durbin, who is a nice player, but might be a utility guy, like a left-hander who throws that hard with this kind of strikeout ability.
Amazing. He's always had this stuff. Could he harness it? And he finally has. So it's going to be, this will be a serious challenge. And don't sleep on the Rockies either. Rockies are much improved. So these will be a tough 6 games. These are home games for the A's, a chance to show the home fans what this team's all about. I'm looking forward to the series. It'll be a big challenge, though.
Last one, and you might have as good an idea, maybe aside from the guys who call the games here with the Aviators. I talked to Matt and Everett last week about what the wind could be like, what the weather could be like, what the hitting and pitching is going to be like. What do you think? I mean, especially it's been really windy here. Now it's calmed down now, but if it is windy and it is blowing out, oh mama.
Oh man, I remember just going back. Remember those games at Cashman Field with the wind, and I know the wind gets a little crazy up here. Yeah, I mean, look, to be a pitcher, it's no picnic in the PCL, not just this ballpark, but throughout. I mean, the El Pasos and the Albuquerques and the Salt Lakes. This league is so hard, but especially here in Las Vegas, you just got to find a way to keep the ball down because if the wind's blowing out, it's going to be an offensive game.
And it looks like the organization has a lot planned for this next week or so. They've already hit the ground running, a lot of charitable efforts, so it's pretty cool to see. And, to me, that's how you curry favor. Aside from winning, get in the community, right?
No doubt. And look, the A's do such a great job in getting to the community, and we're gonna go out there and talk to so many people and get people excited about A's baseball. It's pretty fun.
I appreciate it, Johnny.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Thank
Great.
you.
There is Johnny D. Sat down with him just before the show. He's over working out at LV Ballpark. He's one of the announcers on the radio side for the Las Vegas Athletics. Yep, it's Las Vegas Athletics this week. It's been that way for me all year long. LV Ballpark, Brewers game tonight for the A's, and then Rockies are in town later in the week. You can come out here to Frankie's Uptown where we're hanging out the rest of the week, well, especially Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and register for more chances at getting tickets with the point they'll be on the ground here. Here's something cool about Frankie's and dozens of other restaurants around Las Vegas. This is Restaurant Week. John, I don't know if you've ever taken advantage of Restaurant Week around Las Vegas, but basically you can get 3 or 4 courses for an affordable price, and some of the money goes to charity. And so there's places like you might not try, but you're like, ooh, okay. Like $60 a head, $80 a head, $100 a head. That sounds pretty good. Here's what Frankie's has going on with their Restaurant Week charitable effort. For dinner, there are, and dessert. You get 4 courses. So first course, you get your choice of some meatballs or some calamari. Second course, Caesar salad or a clean green salad. Main course, chicken parm or any of the 15 Uptowns. I have it on the wrong page. But those are their strombolis. And then you will get dessert, the Mason Jar BSB Bourbon Cake, all for one price. Let me tell you, I did a Restaurant Week meal up on the Strip over the weekend. I didn't even come close to finishing it. It is so much food, but it's such a great value. And places like Frankie's Uptown, if you haven't been out here, you give it a try. You get a bunch of courses. It's a good deal.
Sounds good to me.
Really good deal, and for a good cause. Well, thanks to Frankie's for hosting the show. Thank you, Mitchell, for setting things up. Thanks, John. Thanks to Tony Kemp, Chris Townsend, and Johnny D. A's baseball coming up in just a little bit. NBA basketball on the way.